Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive. This week I discuss a fun little game called Stalking the Night Fantastic, the Bureau 13 RPG. This game is set in 1992, or at least the third edition, which was released in 1990, was set in 1992. The original edition was released in 1986. Now, there's a commonality between this game and other games in that you are playing investigators of supernatural threats. However, unlike other such games, this one has a little bit more of a light-hearted take on it. So, why don't you just sit back, relax, and enjoy as we start talking about Stalking the Night Fantastic. So I've got two things I'm going to get out of the way before we get into this discussion. First is, if you can find it, find the novel Bureau 13 by Nick Polotta. This novel is a great introduction to the setting. It tells you how Bureau 13 operates, what they do, how they do it, and has a great massive supernatural threat that just, helps you see what happens when the agency is forced to act in a non-discrete manner, because the threat is just non-discrete. At the same time, this second thing I have to say, the Tri-Tac system is one of those gloriously convoluted systems that could only have come out of the 80s. It is complex, it is convoluted, and frankly, you can use any other system really to work with the setting without having to deal with all the mess that is the Tri-Tac system. You can use the Fate system, Savage Worlds, Powered by the Apocalypse, any of those, and you would be able to run the game just as well, if not better, than using the system. In fact, the Tri-Tac system really is fairly divorced from the setting, and so it really is not necessary. As such, I will not really be talking about the system in this. As far as I'm concerned, this video is more talking about the unique setting of Stalking the Night Fantastic. Because if I were to run a Bureau 13 based RPG, I would most likely use some other system. Just because the Tri-Tac system really is not that friendly a system. And, we're talking about a system that has two completely different combat systems based on if you're in close combat or ranged combat, and has this whole convoluted multi-pages chart for what happens when you hit a specific location and determining how you hit a specific location. And it's a mess. And while an older gamer like me would likely be able to muddle through it, why? What would be the point when there literally are better generic systems that I could use just as effectively? So, with that said, I am going to get right into this discussion on the setting of Bureau 13. So let's get right on into this, shall we? So, in 1862, during the Civil War, President Lincoln tasked a select group of Justice Department agents to create the 13th Bureau of the Justice Department, or Bureau 13, specifically for the purpose of neutralizing supernatural threats. This is neutralizing, not exterminating. And the Bureau has a list of 5 rules that they use. Rule 1 is don't get caught. Rule 2, don't leave evidence. Rule 3, use violence only if necessary. Rule 4, cover your tracks. And Rule 5, make them believe a rational explanation for the bizarre or fantastic. That is the core operating philosophy behind Bureau 13. And that carries through even to this day. In fact, Bureau 13, part of the way they cover their tracks is to say, oh, that wasn't a monster fight. That was very good practical effects for this movie being made. In fact, in 1954, there was a classic horror movie called Them made. It was about a nest of giant ants in the New Mexico desert. Guess what? In the timeline, it has 1954, nest of giant ants exterminated in New Mexico. That's the sort of thing that you hear the explanations for in Bureau 13. Now, how they handle their funding is magic is real, alchemists are real. Alchemists have the Philosopher's Stone. They transmute lead into gold. And then Bureau 13, carefully, mind you, introduces this gold into the economy for cash to fund themselves, as well as proceeds from the movies that they make. But there's lots of little things that go on with them. This is a campy setting. What do I mean by campy? Well, this is the setting where you would expect crazy stuff. I mean, sure, there are some things you just deal with bullets. Lots and lots of bullets. But then, you could have something like, alright, so we've got this Mothman bugging the city. Yeah, so we need to lure him out. How are we going to do that? Here, wear this shirt. What? As you're handed a shirt, jacket really, that's got all these little glittering, glowing lights on it. Like a disco ball shirt. And, guess what? You're bait. And that's the sort of thing you expect in Bureau 13. How does the president contact Bureau 13? Well, let's talk about this for a moment. When the president first sits down, his first day in the Oval Office, at the Resolute desk, and he opens the top drawer, there are 2 letters in there. Letter 1 is the traditional advice from his predecessor. Letter 2 is the one that matters. This is the letter explaining Bureau 13 to the president, telling him that if there is a supernatural threat, he is to go to the picture of Abraham Lincoln in the White House, look it in the eyes, and tell it what the problem is. And the message will get to Bureau 13. Now, this works. This was actually detailed as happening in the novel Bureau 13. Of course, not everything is that sort of craziness. In 1977, an all-out attack on the Bureau 13 headquarters was launched. Unknown forces were behind it. And the Washington, D.C. offices were left in flames, with 61 of the 86 operating agents missing or dead. This is called the Massacre of 77. And as a result of the Massacre of 77 is a very special entity in the annals of Bureau 13. J.P. Withers. He is a survivor of the Massacre of 77. And he has resolved that it will never happen again. The head office does not give him instructions. In fact, there's some belief that the head office is afraid of J.P. Withers. J.P. Withers has a special hotline that agents in the field can call. There is a 25% chance that he will get your message. If he gets your message, then it all depends on how quickly he gets there. And J.P. Withers does not engage in diplomacy, when dynamite will do. And why use one stick of dynamite when you've got 6? J.P. Withers will rescue a squad, a team of Bureau 13 agents, even if he has to kill half the agents to do so. He is crazy. Absolutely stark raving bonkers. He is a one-man weapon of mass destruction. And everyone knows you call him only as a last resort. Instructions for running him are: first time, have him help the party. Second time, make them pay. But it's the sort of crazy, over-the-top, campy thing. He shows up throwing dynamite type ideal. And he always has a smile on his face. Always smiles. And for many, the smile on the face of J.P. Withers is the last thing they will ever see. Bureau 13 also has this notion that wands are important for the wizard. The more valuable the material of the wand, the more powerful the wizard. Wizards start with wooden wands. Low-end wizards, they'll start with wooden wands. Then they'll move up to aluminum and iron and gold and diamond. And then you end up with the most powerful wizards. You don't even know what their wand is. or even what it's made of. They are so powerful, their wands will look like anything. And Bureau 13 will hire vampires, werewolves, fairies, just about anything. Any entity that's willing to work with Bureau 13 in keeping things from being a threat is welcome. And they will even work with some black magic practitioners. They don't like it, and, well, as long as you don't engage in human sacrifice, they're okay with it. Just don't do human sacrifice, and don't go too dark. But, sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire. Yeah, Bureau 13 is just a fun group. Fun game. Think crazy. Think out of the box. Have fun with it. I hope that this video will inspire you to at least pick up the books for some of the setting information and try it in a more modern system, or maybe even brave the Tri-Tac system. But with all that said, if you like this video, please click like and subscribe down below. Leave a comment on what you like, what you didn't like, something you'd like me to talk about in the future. With all that said, I just want you all to remember, have fun, and keep gaming.